Oh, hey. So, welcome back. I am Courtney, and this is the Accounting Struggle. Welcome. And if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I do a lot of videos about accounting, advice videos, that kind of thing. So, also, you can go to the accountingstruggle.com, which is where the blog is. That's where I post the videos. But otherwise, you're here, and I appreciate you being here. Before I get started, I just want to address, I don't know what the deal is. I think it's a mosquito bite. It's here, and I needed to record this video anyway, so you guys will just simply have to deal. So yes, don't know what her problem is, don't know what that's all about, but it's here. Hope you can look past it. Just basically like an update. So I was working in public accounting at a mid-sized firm. Not a big four, but not like mom and pop either. So it was like a mid-sized firm. I was working there for about 2.5 years as a tax associate, and in June I left, and now I'm in industry. And I just wanted to do like a quick comparison of people who might be interested. And this is not meant to be a pros and cons video, because what is a pro to me might be a con to someone else, vice versa. So it's more of a comparison of things that I've noticed so far that are differences, because the work that I do now is wildly different than what I was doing before. And I know that a lot of people love public accounting, but then there's some people who just see it as a jumping off point. That was always kind of the plan for me. I wanted to start in public, see what it was all about, get my, put my toe in the water, as they say, and just try out a little bit of everything before I decided on where I would settle. And I have decided that I didn't want to settle in public accounting because it just wasn't for me in terms of like long-term plans. I'm not there anymore, and now I am working outside of tax. I do financial accounting and reporting for alternative assets. I'm a part of the investments team, so we manage the portfolio for the company, and we do the accounting for that. So a couple of things, I have about 4 or 5 main differences that I'm going to go over first. Obviously, probably the biggest difference from working in public accounting and going into industry would just be the hours. The hours. Okay, so public accounting, everyone knows the hours are strenuous. It's a huge ask. It's a lot of hours. And it gets more intense usually the bigger the firm you're in, or I guess depending on what type of client base you have. But my firm, usually busy season, we would do about 65 to 75 charge hours a week, and that was like mandatory. You're kind of a slacker if you stop at that. And then when it's not busy season, typical 45 to 50 hours. But tax reform changed the game, honey. It's just nonstop. So a lot of hours, and that's whether you're in tax or audit. You're gonna work a lot of hours. In public accounting, there's some late nights, some early mornings, but the good thing about that is you really get to like be closer with people. You get to know them. Y'all are spending so much time together. That's a good thing if you like them. If you don't like them, that is not a good thing. But if y'all are getting along, you're a lot more touchy-feely. When you go into industry, depending on what company you're working for, it's a lot more of a steady flow. So in public, it's like these pockets of seasons of like deadlines and extensions and all that, where you're working crazy hours, and then it might kind of slow down a little bit and you're working still normal hours, but it's not steady like throughout the years as it is in industry. I work usually like 8.5 to 9 hours a day, but that's all year pretty much. I've said that like I've been there forever, but that's the normal flow for pretty much everybody in industry, unless it depends on the type of work you do. But 9 times out of 10, financial reporting, accounting jobs are just like pretty straight across, which is great if you're a boring routine individual like myself and you like normalcy. If you're someone who gets bored and you like craziness and you live and you thrive in those busy season moments, you will miss that. So stay in public. Another big difference would be the career trajectory and the pay. The career trajectory in public accounting is very clear from day one. You pretty much start off, everybody's the same. You start off as an associate, which is what I was when I was in public. And then maybe 2 to 3 years, you're a senior. And then however many years later, you're a manager, and then you go to senior manager and then partner, if that's what you want your life to look like. But if you're doing your job well, that should be what the line looks like. And it's the same amount of time usually for everyone, so long as you're meeting your expectations and you're getting your certifications that you need to get and all that good stuff. That's pretty much how it's going to look. That's your career. That's your future. So the money is a little bit, in my experience and from what I've researched, you get paid a little less in public up front, but you move up a lot faster. So industry will probably offer you a higher salary, but you're not getting promoted every 2 years. Usually I would see that it is a little bit less upfront, and then as you go on and as you get promoted, which is very frequently, then you're, you know, making partner money, honey, pulling up in a Tesla. So yeah, so that's the accounting career path and trajectory in public. In industry, it's not as common for you to be moving up as frequently, depending on, of course, again, your company. But usually you get into a role and you stay in that role. And a lot of times the people who are already in senior positions or leadership roles, you know, management roles, if they're not leaving, you're probably not going to take their spot. It's not that many. It's not as much of a need. People aren't coming in and going out as frequently. So there isn't as great a need to, you know, move people up as fast. That's not to say you don't get promoted and you stay in your role. Your work changes. I say don't chase titles, because that's never been my thing. I was not a senior when I worked in public accounting. I did not have my CPA yet. But either way, I think that getting like pressed about a title is kind of, it doesn't mean anything. It's like, do you see it in your work? Do you see it in your responsibilities? Do you see it in your paycheck? If you are seeing growth in those 3 areas, that's really all that matters. Titles don't mean anything. They're just titles. That is something that you want to go into industry, but you're like, but I want to be a senior. Or if you're a senior in, a lot of people will be a senior in public, and then they go and leave and they're not able to get a senior role right away. And they're like, oh, well, I don't want to downgrade, but it's not necessarily a downgrade. It really just depends on the work. So yeah, that's the main difference that I've noticed between public and industry. However, when it comes to your career path and your career trajectory in industry, I noticed that there are a lot more options. It seems like, of course, again, depending on the company, but if you work for like a major corporation, usually there's a lot more roles and you can kind of move around a lot more. So even if the moves are lateral in terms of title, the work and the variety is just, it's a lot more to offer other than just, I mean, in public, it's either, you know, advisory, recruiting, tax, assurance. There's only but so many things you can do in public. So you pretty much have to know that that's exactly what you want to do if you're going to stay in public. And there are many people who do know that, and it's perfect for them. But if you are trying to find yourself as an accountant, I would say it's not a bad idea to step outside the box on that one. In terms of culture, that's another difference that I'm noticing. I would say just from the firms that I'm thinking of compared to some of the industry, some of the corporate accounting jobs, what I've noticed is the culture just seems to be more variety and more diverse. In public, almost everybody's right out of college, right out of getting their master's. Everybody's kind of in that same, from management on down, everybody's like in that same stage of life where it's, you know, we're getting a dog and a house and getting married and, you know, that sort of age, that sort of place in life. Whereas until you move up to like senior manager and partner anyway, because there's like this gap. So because of that, a lot of people are a lot more touchy-feely and not nosy, but just like more like, so what are you doing this week? You know, like there's a lot more interest in one another, and that could vary from firm to firm, but I know that it's a lot more closeness. And I think it's also the hours, because you spend so much time with these people. It's like you have no choice but to be friends. So I feel like in public accounting, people probably are a lot more close or spend a lot more time together, whereas in industry, from what I'm noticing, people really, I mean, it's so diverse. There's so many different age groups. People are in such different places in their lives. There's so much all over across the board, because it's it's a bigger scale. So literally people just are not in your space as much. You're not spending all day together getting into the nitty gritty details of one another's lives. It's just kind of like, hey, did you have a good weekend? Okay, great. So meeting at 10, that's kind of the culture. And from what I've noticed, it's not like happy hour every weekend. So that's something that you will likely experience if you are going from public into industry and you're used to happy hour every week or every month. Maybe not as much in industry. And that's just from the different industry jobs that I've looked into or have known from other people. They're not, I mean, it's like we work together. I really like Sharon. She's great. But I don't know much about her other than the fact that we work together and she's great. So that's the differences in culture that I've noticed so far. And then the other thing that I would say is the work itself is different. Shocker. So in public, there was a lot more variety of work. And this will vary so much depending on your firm's client base. But for my firm that I worked in when I was in public accounting, we worked on all different types of clients. So I got to a point where I felt like I never really got to be an expert. It wasn't like my office just does dealerships or my office just does construction. I mean, I did everything from construction to just mom and pops, a lot of nonprofits. I mean, just literally every type of industry you could think of. So it's a lot more variety. And if that's something you love, that's great. If you get bored easily, then you would probably fare better in public accounting for that reason. If you like a variety of work, you like it to be a new adventure every single week or every single month, then you might find that more frequently in public accounting. That's not to say that there aren't auditors who don't work on the exact same client for 3 years straight, because that happens in public too. But it's more likely that you'll find more variety in public accounting than you will in industry. In industry, it's a lot more easy to expect. The expectation of what the work is going to look like is pretty clear. It's so much more steady in terms of the type of work that you're doing, and your only client is that company. So it's like you're really able to get to know the ins and outs of that industry, and you get to really feel like you're becoming an expert in that field. There's still a ton of variety and options, of course, depending on what you do. Oh, get it together. But yeah, there is a lot more steadiness, which again, for me, somebody like me, I really appreciate the predictability and the steadiness. Not to say that there are not moments of like, oh my God, where'd that come from? Or, oh, that's new, because companies are always changing and there's always stuff that comes up, but it's so much more of a whirlwind in public accounting. So it really will just come down to like personality and what you love. I was in tax because I chose tax specifically because I'm a more routine individual. I like to come to work every day and sit in my chair with my things, not some hotel desk space. I'm not that girl. And I wanted a little bit more of a routine and like practicality. And I thought that's what I was getting. And compared to assurance, it probably is a lot more routine, but it's also way more routine for me. In industry, I kind of have a very clear view of what my month is going to look like. And that's really nice for me. I really appreciate that. But yeah, so those are just a few of the differences that I've noticed so far. I'll do an update later if I find that there are other things that I might want to share. But so far, it's been a great transition. And I love that you can always go. A lot of people come out of public accounting and they're like, oh my God, the hours, I can't stand it. And then they go into industry and they're bored to death and they cannot handle it. Or they satisfied that, they had their baby or did whatever they were going to do. And they are like, yeah, I think I want to go back into public. And they do it. Tons of people do it. That is not my plan, but I know that, tons of people do it. Neither one is right or wrong. Neither one is better. It really just depends on your preference and what you are into. I, for one, am an industry type of girl, and I recognize that about myself. So let me know in the comments, what do you think? What are some differences that you've noticed? Have you done both industry? Have you done governmental? talk to me. Tell me what you think, and I hope this was helpful. Okay, bye.